Yo, what's up? I've had a bunch of people asking me for my settings on console. So I'm just gonna run through everything real quick so I can put this on my Twitch as like a thing for you guys. But yeah, for display, this is all just like on normal. I just have that turned off. I don't think that really matters. Make sure you're on 120 Hz. Although this needs to be off. Fidelity cast, I tried 100, but it didn't feel very good on console. And I saw people saying that the sweet spot was kind of like between like 80 and 90, so just had it on 85. Minimal, and then large. I haven't touched this, so I don't know what's really the best for that, but it feels good. I play on 99. I feel like people play on higher FOVs on this game, but I've always played on like 97 on other cards, and then 99 felt really good on this game. And then make sure you have wide for your weapon field of view so you can kind of see a little bit easier. It makes your gun look smaller when you're ADS'd, so you can see kind of more of like a field of view rather than just your gun looking massive. And then make sure you're unaffected because independent looks terrible. It makes your fucking FOV change a lot when you ADS, and it zooms in too much. That's it for graphics for console. And then the controller, I'm on 1.55 cents. I think I tried 1.6. I didn't really like it that much, but I did turn my sense up a bit on this game. I used to play on like 1.47 last cut, I think, or 1.5. So I turned it up like a little bit, but I feel like that's pretty solid. And then the only thing that's really different for this game, for your dead zones, for every COD, I would recommend doing this, but make sure your left stick minimum is at 1, and then 65. So this basically means that you don't have to push your stick as far to get to max input. So it means that you can kind of get to your full sprint or whatever like a lot easier. And then for your right stick, I've always played with this on 5, but when I switched to console, I kind of just wanted it to be as low as possible. So this does give me stick drift, but it's not noticeable in terms of gunfights, and it just feels like the most responsive on console for me. So that's what I have that on. And then make sure you have this on 99. You don't want to touch the maximum on your right stick. And yeah, and then for aiming, this is all just normal. And then make sure you're on instant. Gradual is really bad, so just make sure you stay on instant. And then I'm on the dynamic curve. I know some people tried linear on this card, but I didn't like it. I'm just on dynamic 1.00. I wouldn't recommend kind of changing anything with that. And then for this, just make sure you have FOV sensitivity scaling turned off. I think a lot of people's games automatically puts that on. So make sure you have that off. And then I don't know if this actually matters, but I just put that on controller instead of gravity. And then everything else is kind of exactly what it was like when I got on the game. Sprint assist, you want to have this on for both sideways and backwards. Corner slice off. I don't think that it's very helpful. It's a cool setting, but I don't think you need to have it on. Slide only. Okay, so one thing you want to do here is put this on tap to slide and then change this from medium, which is what it's defaulted to, and then put it on short and then change back to slide only, or hybrid if you play on hybrid. But that setting is going to be locked if you're on hybrid or slide only. So change it to tap to slide and then put it on short and then put it back to whatever you like to use. And then make sure you have automatic airborne mantle and grounded mantle off. I'll show you the grounded mantle one. These two should be on. These ones don't matter. Make sure you have single tap run on. And then grounded mantle should be obviously set to off. You don't want to be auto mantling random shit around the map. Combat advanced settings. I didn't change any of this. This is all just default. I know lots of people like to prioritize interact, especially if you're playing Warzone. But I just always have used tap to reload. I don't really play Warzone, so I don't need that. This is all default as well. And then in terms of audio, I'm on the Sucker Punch one, and then nothing else has changed on here. Just default hit marker sounds. That doesn't matter. And then for interface, one thing that's actually quite helpful in here is, so I have these turned on. Network in-game alert icons. I don't know if this was only on PC or if it's like this on console as well, but I'm not joking. I genuinely think that packet burst was 100% less noticeable last year when you turned this off and it didn't come up and say packet burst on your screen. So I've always had this turned off. So if you want to try that, if you're struggling with packet burst, you could give it a try. But yeah, I've always just had that turned off. And then for this, I have my menu text size on larger, and then everything else is just normal. Default color customization, I would definitely recommend using, I wouldn't touch the color palette at all, just leave that all as default, because this is the brightest red I think that there is, and that's the easiest color to see for a lot of people for your enemies. But make sure you put on filter 2. This gives you the best colors. Make sure you set this to both because I think it defaults it only to interface or world. I can't remember which. And then I have mine both on 100, so it just makes your game look a lot clearer. The colors look a lot better. And it's a little more saturated with the colors, so it kind of mimics like the PC a little bit. And then if you go over here, I don't know why they removed the setting where you had your you could change your minimap scale, but turning it up in this game actually just makes it worse because your minimap doesn't increase. It just makes everything else bigger. So my presets are just on default. I haven't changed any of this. Just kind of gives you like the best performance if you don't use any of these extra colors where it's just adding more shit to your game. And then I put this on minus 0.20, so my other HUD looks smaller, which almost makes your minimap feel bigger. And then for this, I just have everything on except the compass. I feel like the compass is just big and clunky and you don't need it. You're never like actually using that. This is all default as well. I had this set to medium, and then I just changed it back to default, but I don't think that this really matters for S&D. It was more like helpful for respawn, I feel like. So if you play respawn, you might want to consider putting that on medium. It makes it a little easier to track like the kills that your team's getting, especially if you die and you spawn back up after the delay. Sometimes being able to see that extra 5 seconds of the kill feed is very helpful. Minimap rotation, you want that on, radar off, and compass off. I don't have my lines on at all, but I do play with the static dot, which I have set to larger. So make sure you put that on. I feel like that helps a lot. It's just not bouncing around, and then I just have it set to white, which is the default color. None of this has changed, and then I saw some people saying they were trying using this vignetting setting, but I didn't really like it when I tried it, so all of this is just default as well. So yeah, that's it for my settings, and there you go.